Welcome to the tutorial entitled Adult Education Reports, NRS Tables 4 and 4C. My name is Karen Ballingy, and I am your host for this tutorial. To optimize your understanding of the content presented in this tutorial, you should have a copy of your region's 2018-2019 NRS tables. If the region's NRS tables are unavailable, you can obtain blank versions of the NRS tables in Appendix E of the August 2019 edition of the NRS Technical Assistance Guide located on the NRS webpage www.nrsweb.org. Be sure to download the 2018-19 version and not the 2017-18 version, which is still available. Important terms you need to know for our discussions of NRS Tables 4 and 4C are periods of participation, or POPs, exit dates, and measurable skill gain, or MSG. A POP, or period of participation, represents a period of adult education and literacy activity to be reported at the end of the year. In a POP, a student must complete 12 or more contact hours without a 90-day period of inactivity. When a POP is followed by 90 days of inactivity, the last date of attendance is designated as the POP exit date. It is possible that a student may have more than one POP in a fiscal year. A POP may extend beyond a single fiscal year. However, activity occurring in a POP that extends into a second fiscal year must be reported separately according to the fiscal year in which the activity occurred. For example, a student starts a POP in fiscal year 2017-18 and doesn't exit the program, and therefore the POP, until sometime in fiscal year 2018-19. If the student makes a post-test gain in 2017-18, the gain is reported in 2017-18, not in 2018-19. The same applies to a student's attendance. Let's say a student enrolls in 2017-18 and establishes a POP. If the student continues the POP into 2018-19, then the contact hours earned in 2018-19 are reported for 2018-19, even if the 2018-19 attendance is fewer than 12 hours. As long as the attendance in a fiscal year is part of a POP, it doesn't matter that the attendance is less than 12 hours. Finally, SSWS will track and report all POP activity as long as the activity occurs on or after the student's intake date. This includes activities for multiple POPs. If a student's first POP begins October 1st, for example, and the student has a second POP beginning February 1st, and a third POP beginning June 1st, the system will recognize attendance and MSG information for all three POPs as long as the intake date is October 1st or prior to October 1st. In this case, if the program revises the intake date from October 1st to January 1st, SSWS will not recognize any attendance or MSG results prior to January 1st. Exit dates are crucial elements of POPs. However, there is information about exit dates that programs should be aware of apart from their role as part of POPs. As mentioned earlier, the last date of attendance of a POP becomes an exit date after 90 days of adult education inactivity have passed. When this happens, SSWS will assign the last date of attendance as an exit date. However, the system will only assign exit dates until June 30th. If the last date of attendance is after April 1st, there would be fewer than 90 days until June 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year. Therefore, a last date of attendance later than April 1st cannot be assigned as an exit date. Even though programs typically have time until August to finalize their data, all activity reported for the fiscal year must be as of June 30th. Therefore, the system has been configured not to convert last dates of attendance to exit dates beyond April 1st. There are two cases when programs should enter an exit date and a justification for the exit date. One case is when a participant exits an adult education program and enrolls in a post-secondary education or training program, which is an MSG. If programs had to wait 90 days for the system to recognize an exit date before entering a post-secondary enrollment date, programs will be excluded from demonstrating a post-secondary enrollment gain if the exit occurred after April 1st. Therefore, the system will accept an exit date manually entered by a program in connection with a post-secondary enrollment MSG. The second case when programs should enter an exit date is when a participant's exit corresponds to one of the following circumstances. The participant has deceased, the participant is incarcerated, the participant is placed in an institution with 24-hour support, such as a nursing home, the participant receives medical treatment that is expected to last 90 days or more, the participant is called to active duty as a member of the Armed Services or National Reserves that is expected to last 90 days or more. If you have a participant that must be exited as a result of one of the above circumstances, the participant's enrollment still counts towards the state's total enrollment, but he or she is not included in the state's performance calculation. WIOA's MSG definition is complicated, but we are going to work through it, one element at a time. In addition to POPs and exit dates, programs should clearly understand what is an MSG to understand performance reporting, and in particular, what is reported on NRS Table 4. An MSG describes a participant's progress towards achieving a credential or gaining employment. For adult education programs, there are 4 ways to achieve an MSG. Demonstrate academic progress through pre- and post-test gain. Transition from diagnostic phase to the generalized assessment phase for National External Diploma Program, NEDP, participants. Enroll in a post-secondary education or training program after exit and within the same program year. Attainment of a secondary credential. This may occur during or after exiting a POP. The MSG is assigned to all concurrent and preceding POPs in the fiscal year. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 are EFL gains. Number 4 is a secondary credential attainment gain. All 4 are MSGs. Some things to keep in mind. Making a pre- and post-test EFL gain may occur either when the post-test takes place during or after exiting a POP. The point here is that the post-test does not have to occur during a POP in order to be recognized as valid. It may occur after a POP. An NEDP base gain must occur during a POP. A post-secondary enrollment EFL gain occurs when a participant exits an adult education program and then enrolls in a post-secondary education or training program in the same fiscal year. The exit from an adult education program must occur prior to the post-secondary enrollment in order to count as a post-secondary enrollment EFL gain. Participants in an IET program do not qualify for a post-secondary enrollment EFL gain because their enrollment in an adult education and post-secondary program are concurrent, not sequential. To be recognized for a secondary credential attainment gain, participants must earn the credential, either a secondary school diploma or a recognized equivalent, while enrolled in an adult education program or after having exited the program. If a participant earns a secondary credential prior to enrolling in an adult education program, he or she is not eligible for achieving a secondary credential attainment gain. If a participant achieves a secondary credential attainment gain, the MSG is assigned to the POP in which it was earned and all preceding POPs during the current fiscal year. For example, if a participant has 3 POPs and earns a GED either during or after the 3rd POP, the participant will be recognized as having achieved an MSG for all 3 POPs. Participants may earn more than 1 MSG per POP, however, states can only report 1 MSG per POP. When a participant earns more than 1 MSG in a POP, the most recent MSG is recognized as the participant's MSG for the POP. As mentioned earlier, activities such as MSG attainment occurring in a fiscal year is reported for that fiscal year. Finally, programs should remember that with the exception of the post-secondary enrollment gain, MSG achievement does not rely on participants first exiting a program. Exit-based performance indicators are part of the discussion involving NRS Table 5 and related tables. This slide summarizes the major changes on NRS Table 4 that we will be discussing. This slide contains a snapshot of state-level data reported on NRS Table 4, submitted as part of the state's annual reporting for 2018-19. Because of the complexity of the table, an explanation of what's contained in each column will be provided in the next few slides. Note that columns A through I fall under the broader category of first period of participation, and columns J through M fall under the category of all periods of participation. Columns A and B provide the number of participants by EFL. Column C provides the number of participants who exited based on the circumstances that exempt the participant from performance reporting. Column D provides the total attendance for each participant. Although this column falls under the broader category of first period of participation, the attendance that is reported under column D represents a participant's total attendance, including any attendance outside of the first POP. Columns E and F provide the number of participants recognized for achieving an MSG in their first POP. Column E provides EFL gain information. Column F provides secondary credential attainment information. Remember that participants who achieve more than one MSG in a POP can only be recognized for achieving one MSG, and that the MSG must be the most recent. So, for example, a participant who has only one POP and first achieves a post-test gain, then earns a GED, will only be recognized as having attained a secondary credential. Column G identifies the number of participants who separated before achieving an MSG. Some programs may see an increase in this number as a result of SSWS now automatically assigning exit dates. Column H provides the number of participants remaining in a program without an MSG. Column I provides the percentage of participants who achieved an MSG. The percentage is determined by adding together columns E and F, then dividing by column B less column C. This slide focuses on the columns that fall under the header on the right, all periods of participation. Column J provides the total number of POPs. Columns K and L provide the total number of POPs in which an EFL gain and secondary credential attainment gain, respectively, were achieved. Column M provides the percentage of POPs in which an MSG was achieved. The percentage is calculated by adding together columns K and L and dividing by column J less column C. Remember that column C captures participants who exit under special circumstances in their first POP only. Some important things to keep in mind about NRS Table 4. NRS Table 4 includes all participants that received adult education and literacy services. With the exception of column D, information reported under columns B through I represents activities related to a participant's first POP. Information reported under columns J through M represent performance occurring in all POPs. Column D provides the total attendance for a participant, including attendance that occurs outside of a POP, but within the fiscal year. Participants who exit because of special circumstances, see Slide 7, Understanding Exit Dates, 2 of 2, are captured under column C and are excluded from performance calculations. Participants may be credited with having made at most one MSG, even if they achieve more than one in a POP. For participants who achieve more than one MSG in a POP, the system will recognize the most recent MSG for reporting purposes. EFL placement is based on a participant's current EFL. For a first-time student, the current EFL will be the test result with the oldest date. If more than one test result are considered the oldest, the first test result entered in SSWS will be considered the current EFL. For participants rolled forward from a previous year, the current EFL will be from the previous year as long as the test with the current EFL is still valid. If a student is rolled forward but no longer has a valid assessment, the program should retest the student. Remember that ESL Completer is not a valid EFL, therefore can only be used as the post-test in the pre-post-test process, not as the pre-test. Because performance is no longer connected with EFL placement, as was the case under WIA, programs should not be concerned with how high or how low a participant is placed in terms of EFL. All activity achieved by the participant will be reported for the participant at whichever EFL he or she is placed on NRS Table 4, and the EFL placement is fixed for the entire program year. All post-test-based MSGs achieved by a participant are reported on the EFL at which the participant is placed, even if the MSGs occurred at different EFLs. State performance is represented by the percentages provided under column M, not column I. This slide contains a snapshot of state-level data reported on NRS Table 4C, submitted as part of the state's annual reporting for 2018-19. NRS Table 4C is the same as NRS Table 4 with the following exceptions. NRS Table 4C reports enrollment, attendance, and MSG performance for distance education participants only. NRS Table 4C does not identify participants exempt from performance reporting. NRS Table 4C does not separate MSG by type, but reports MSG as a total. Now for the self-check. True or false? In October, a student took a pretest, completed 35 hours of instruction, and exited from the program. She returned in March, completed 10 hours of instruction, took a post-test, and made a gain before exiting. The system will recognize the post-test gain even though the post-test did not occur within a POP. The answer is true. True or false? If a student's last date of attendance is May 2nd, the system will automatically recognize May 2nd as the student's exit date after 90 days of inactivity. The answer is false. True or false? NRS Table 4C is a subset of NRS Table 4. The answer is true. True or false? A student enrolls in a program December 1st, makes 2 post-test gains on January 17th, earns his GED on March 15th, exits the program on March 16th. 2 weeks later, he enrolls in a local community college. Because earning a GED was the most recent gain, the system should recognize secondary credential attainment as his MSG. The answer is false. The Resource Center has provided access to its Blackboard site for folks to ask questions and discuss their responses to the discussion questions provided in this tutorial. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this tutorial.